Hello, everybody. My name is Dr. Michael, and this is the Winning and Networking podcast. Today, I have the wonderful Liz Durham as my guest, and I discovered you through Stride.
Yes.
And I came to one of the Skokie Zwifters. I don't know if it was a fundraising event. I think it was sometime back in March or April of last year.
Or February.
Maybe it was even as early as February.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. It was pretty early. It wasn't warm outside yet.
Yeah, no, it was definitely cold. I had a friend visiting from out of town. In any case, I remember you were the coach, and I remember you cueing us in ways that I cue my patients when I'm teaching them how to run. So I remember thinking to myself, this lady knows what she's talking about. So it was really cool to hear you talk about, okay, don't hit with your heel, land on the flat part of your foot.
Yeah.
You and I have talked about cadence before. So what was it like to bring in your coaching knowledge and history as a runner into a setting like Stride?
I mean, for me, it was great fun because it's something that not all of the Stride coaches would bring in because everybody comes from different backgrounds. And I'm pretty passionate about running. And when I go running, I think about those things like, oh, what is my cadence like? Oh, what do my feet sound like while I'm running? What is my breathing? I mean, I think about all that stuff. So I was certainly happy to share it with people who wanted to learn it and hear it. Not everybody does.
No.
And that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's absolutely okay. But I think that was probably something that, at least at that time there, was a little unique to what was being brought to that one.
Yeah. So what got you into running in the first place? Like how long? I don't actually know how long you've been running for.
Most of my life.
Yeah. When did you start it? Oh, you started in
So
school, didn't you?
I
remember
started
you talking
running
about coach.
in junior high. But my father, like when I was younger than that, elementary schoolish age, you know, my father had become a runner during that time of my life. So we used to go to races and cheer him on, like road races.
Like 5Ks and stuff? Or like track races?
No, like road races.
Road races, okay.
And then in junior high, like we had some running unit. I remember they thought that I should be a sprinter. That lasted about 50 feet when I fell flat on my face because I am not a sprinter. I was trying so hard.
You're pretty tall for being a sprinter. Were you tall then?
Yeah, I've always been tall.
Yeah.
But some sprinters are tall.
Are tall?
Yeah. And so then clearly I was like, I don't want to be a sprinter. By the time I got into high school, I joined our high school track team and cross country, and then pretty much been running ever since. Yeah, so I ran in high school nothing shorter than a 400.
Okay.
And my coach could not get me to do the 2 mile in indoor or outdoor. He tried an indoor track, and I was like, this sucks. So I blew the race because I'm obnoxious that way. I didn't want to run it.
It just wasn't fun? Or what?
So many laps.
Yeah.
I don't like it on the track either, too many laps. So, but, you know, 400, relays, 800, 1600, and then jumping events. Yeah. And then I ran in college, and then I kept running. I mean, there's been times in my life that I've had little gaps, usually because life gets in the way. But yeah, I would say pretty much all my life.
Okay. And then, because with Stride, obviously you were able to bring that running piece into the work that you were doing.
Yes.
Were you doing anything work related, tying it into running before Stride, or was that kind of your first time actually doing both?
No, well, and I haven't always been a coach, fitness coach or anything, but I certainly helped other people who wanted to run, and then would kind of coach them through how to become a runner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was your experience with that? Because I feel like I'm in some degree of a similar position right now, where I'm trying to encourage people to run as a way for them to live healthier lives. So it's easy for the people who are running for me to help continue to run, but there's a handful of people that I can think of off the top of my head who I would like to be able to inspire some degree of, oh, hey, I'm going to go run.
Sure.
But it kind of it has to come from them. But what was your experience?
I've had good experience.
Awesome.
Because I've had folks that are like, you know what, I don't like running, but maybe I feel like I should. It seems like this would be a good addition. I don't know how to run. I can't run more than 1 minute.
Yeah.
And I tell them that's good. You don't have to run more than 1 minute yet. And I don't know. I've just, some folks I've gone running with, which also means walk running with,
sure,
which is a great time to educate and keep people distracted.
Yeah, because you have a buddy, right?
Yeah.
There's someone else that you can kind of be there with.
Yeah, yeah. An accountability buddy, best thing ever.
Accountability buddy. I know that word from South Park.
I just know that word.
South Park has a whole episode. I used to watch a lot of South Park when I was younger, and they have a whole episode where, I don't know, the word accountability buddy was thrown around a bunch, and it just like stuck with me. And it's just,
now I'm gonna have to go watch it.
Yeah. Well, it might be inappropriate. I mean, I don't know. Well,
no, I mean I've watched some South Park. Let's see, when was that? 90s?
I'm not sure. It's still going though. I think it overtook The Simpsons as longest running show. I could be wrong about that. I'm not 100%. But
somebody who's checking in your podcast will know.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Fact checking. Right. That's a lie. Yeah, but so that accountability buddy piece is absolutely important, and it's been very helpful for me to be involved with the Evanston Running Club because I have a group of people there that in some ways are, I don't want to go as far as to say looking out for me to be there, but when I'm there, it's very much like a, hey, how's it going?
Yes.
Like, okay. Yeah. It's not like anyone's hounding me to go, but when I go, it feels like I'm with a group of people that I'm close with.
And it feels like they were expecting you to be there.
Yeah, that's what it is. Like they were expecting me.
Yeah.
Right? So that's a really beautiful way to say it too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the running community is a pretty powerful community. It's probably one of the most welcoming communities that I have known at any point in time of my life. Yeah. Most runners don't care if you're going to run the whole time or run and walk or just walk. The fact that you're out there and you're moving, I mean, my experience as a whole has been that runners are pretty welcoming in that way. Not 100%.
Yeah, but a lot of them are. And it is definitely it's refreshing. Yeah. I came from triathlon, and triathletes are very welcoming themselves. But I'm going to pick on cyclists here.
I'm a cyclist.
Can I pick on cyclists a little bit? So when I was, before I found Precision Multisport, which is the premier triathlon club in this area, I would do my cycling with cyclists who weren't necessarily doing triathlon. And I remember a handful of times getting involved with various cycling groups and always just feeling like a black sheep. I don't know if it was because I was much younger than everybody. I don't know if it was because I was a triathlete at heart. I don't know if it was because I was less experienced. But whatever the reasoning was, every time, I'm thinking of a group in particular, I'm not going to name them. Yeah. But every time I would go to one of the group rides, I just kind of feel like, hey, I'm here. Like, I'm just going to ride with you guys. Is that cool?
And then it's you and they're pedaling, and you're like, oh, okay, I'm with you.
And it's off, and I'm like trying to hold on. And to pick on cyclists a little bit longer, there's a real desire desire's not the right word, but there's a real interest that they have with how you dress as a cyclist. And
don't be afraid.
Yeah. So I showed up one time in like a sleeveless jersey. And man, that was apparently not a cool move.
I mean,
You know?
it certainly gave away that you were a triathlete.
Yes, 100%. I showed up with my sleeveless jersey, and then I remember,
and the length of your socks might have been a little off.
Yeah, so they were short, not long, which was also wrong. And I was just like showing up for a workout, whatever.
Yeah.
But I remember showing up with a sleeveless jersey, and I remember someone saying, "Oh, it looks pretty athletic," just because, like, you know, my arms were out there, and I was like, "Okay, that was weird." I didn't think much of it at first, and then, like, as I started to hang out with them more, I was like, "Oh, they have a problem with this."
Yes.
There's a problem with the fact that I have short sleeves on. So then to overcompensate, and it's funny because at the time I didn't actually have a short sleeve jersey because I didn't want the tan line. I didn't understand why anybody would cycle in a short sleeve jersey because it'll put a farmer's tan on you in one ride. Right. So to mitigate that, I bought the sleeveless jersey on purpose to avoid the farmer's tan.
Right, because you like what kind of tan?
I guess, yeah, right. Something where if I'm wearing short sleeves, you won't necessarily see the line.
Yeah,
you know
okay,
what
got it.
So
yeah,
whatever this tan line is called. So I didn't have a short sleeve jersey. Mm-hmm. So instead of tank top, I wore my long sleeve jersey, which was technically a summer one. It was like thin, but to protect me from the sun, from a sunburning standpoint. And then I showed up to the bike with that, and then someone was like, "Oh, Mike, long sleeves today?" And I was like, "Everyone cares about my sleeves, dude. I'm just trying to show up for a workout." You know what I mean? So I always kind of felt some sort of like asymmetry between myself and pure cyclists that kind of steered me away from that group. And then really once I like actually joined a running group, and I was like, okay, this is a group of like runners. I was like, these people are incredible. The whole vibe is just totally different. It's way more welcoming. Yes. Way more welcoming and like accepting of all different skill levels. Skill levels,
What you wear, shape, size, everything. But of course, I say that about the running community, and
okay.
And I say that about the running community, and I mean it. But my main experience of it is at races, or at Stride. That's its own was its own kind of community. Or when I'm out running by myself, or when I'm like here at work and I'm talking about something and running comes up, because it, to me, fits in almost every conversation.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
I'm a member of the Evanston Running Club, but I don't run with the Evanston Running Club.
No.
I know.
I was going to ask you about that at some point.
Yeah.
I was going to get like, hey, do you ever show up to any of the ERC runs?
The time sometimes doesn't match my work schedule. I am also not necessarily a group
run person. Yeah.
Yeah. Although when I have done group runs, I usually have a great time.
Sure.
But my nature is a little bit more leave me alone.
Sure.
And I'm going to do my own thing.
Yeah.
So I usually need prodding
to go to a group thing. Yeah,
and then I have a great time because it's such a great community usually.
Yeah. So staying on that piece you were saying of, you know, when you've run, maybe it's something you do more by yourself. I often tell people that running in some ways is meditation with movement, or meditation in movement. My wife was asking me this morning, she's like, just out of the blue, I don't know how we even talked about this, I got on this topic, but she was like, how do you feel when you run? And I was like, how do I feel when I run? Such a good question. Kind of meditating on it. I was like, I feel like calm, like free.
Yeah.
You know, like if I'm actually in my stride, like maybe that first mile or two, I'm still kind of warming up, getting my bearings. But if I'm going for a 6-mile run and I'm at mile 2, somewhere around 3 or 4, I'm settled in.
Yeah.
And then I know I have a couple more miles to go, but not that far.
Yeah.
And it really you can get in a really sweet zone.
Yeah. You find that nice flow.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know that flow, and that's certainly, I don't know if I would use the term meditative, but I definitely say that running is my happy place. Even if it's a terrible, sucky run, it's going to be my happy place, because there's just so much about it. Finding that feeling of flow is kind of the best thing. It's not the runner's high. It's not like I don't think it's necessarily that chemical charge or kick in. It's calming to me.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people will play loud, upbeat music when they run. I cannot. If I play music at all on a run, like especially like on a long run, where I'm not trying to go really fast or hit a certain pace. If I play music, it's going to be something like all melodic and relaxing and slow, the kind of thing that you would do maybe if you wanted to take a nap. Yeah.
But to go for a run.
Go for a run.
And then, so what about that works well for you?
It's relaxing. And for me, especially on long runs, they are supposed to be relaxed and easy feeling. And I like that you said that you feel free. Yeah, just like riding a bike. There's something about it that is freeing feeling. So I don't go running to get charged up.
No? Do you ever run to release energy? I find myself in that position a lot.
I think I used to when I was younger, but not so much now.
Yeah. Where do you usually run now?
Where?
Yeah. Because I actually don't even know whereabouts you live. You don't have to tell me, but like.
I live in South Evanston.
Yeah.
And I'm about a mile.
From the lake?
Yeah. I mean, one particular route actually puts me at 1.1 miles from the lake. Not that I would be timing it.
Not that you would know the exact distance.
No. So if my run is anywhere over 3 miles, it's probably one of my favorite things to do is to go run and go up the lakefront.
Yeah.
College.
Yeah, the college campus area at landfill. That's the spot in this area. And it's so nice. Yeah. You know what? It's actually a little bit, it's massively underrated to run and swim in this area, because our biggest comparison would be the Chicago lakefront. Right. I don't know if you've ever tried to run or bike.
I have done both, and it's not a joyful experience.
Not relaxing.
No.
I wouldn't call it relaxing. It's there's a lot of people. There's a lot of traffic.
Unless you're one of those year-round runners and cyclists. And in that situation, there's a lot of people who aren't, and the lakefront kind of opens up a bit. Yeah.
And maybe in the cold. What if it's cold?
It's cold or it's raining. When only certain people...
That's when you'll have a good experience there. When every other variable is bad, then there won't be a lot of people, so that component is good.
It's going to be great.
Yeah. So the interesting thing about running in Evanston is that everybody loves running along that path that's on the college campus. Yeah. And it's not necessarily overcrowded. Right. You know, on a nice summer's day, you're going to have a lot of people walking, and that's fine. Yeah. But if you're going for a run, you're going to have space. Yeah. And the same can't be said for running in Chicago. Right. You know what I mean? And it's arguably a better path. You know, there's more intention put into it. Like, hey, here's where bike traffic goes. Here's where running and walking traffic goes. But there's just so many people that the whole time you're just
it's definitely not as fun. No. When I first moved to Illinois, I lived in Chicago, and so then it was a little bit longer to get to the lakefront. It was more than 1.1 miles, but lakefront runs back in the 90s, the mid-upper 90s, weren't so bad.
Really?
In Chicago on the lakefront.
Probably wasn't as popular.
Same thing with cycling, for sure with cycling. They didn't even have the cycling lane back then. Yeah. But over the years, it's gotten more crowded there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think it's because the city itself has gotten more populous, or that the sports have gotten more popular?
I think
Probably both.
yeah. I mean, Chicago's always been rather populous, but I like to think that it's because more people are finding the love and joy of running and cycling. But maybe that's just my bias.
I feel that way about triathlon. So my experience is that running has gotten super popular for sure. I feel like more people are running now than ever before. And in my opinion, what happens in people's brains is once they do a lot of running, they kind of want to mix it up a little bit, and they know that triathlon is also an endurance thing where there's a running component, which they're already good at, and then maybe that person has a bike and knows how to swim, so they see triathlon as a new challenge and something that they can work towards, and it makes the endurance sports exciting again. So I'm seeing a lot of people getting into triathlon who used to do running events in particular, but also like cycling or swimming. Really, it's mostly the runners that get into triathlon, in my experience of just seeing people.
So I've known a number of cyclists who, same thing, but they were cyclists first and then decided to try a triathlon. And almost, so they have to learn to run if they don't already know. And
most people who are running don't necessarily know how to run either.
Right.
Just because you were running doesn't mean that doesn't actually mean you know.
So I guess my experience has been more of cyclists. That somebody's convinced them to. Right. So as a community, I guess I spent more time in that world than as a runner in the bigger community. I guess. I'm not a triathlete though.
Yeah, no.
I have
no interest.
I swim, not very often anymore, and I bike and I run. Right? It seems like they should go together. But running is the only one I feel competitive about.
Yeah.
But I've worked with people that wanted to do triathlons. One of my class members here was a cyclist. Had swum at some point in her life. Swam.
I think
swam.
I don't know.
I'm not an English teacher.
No.
And I helped them train.
Cool.
To do a triathlon.
That's fun.
Yeah. I don't think I want to do.
No.
It would take like my best friend saying, hey, we're best friends.
Yeah.
I'd be like, okay.
What is it about triathlon that would take a best friend to?
I'm not competitive about how I ride my bike.
Sure. Yeah, it's pretty casual.
I mean, I don't know if I would say casual. I'm pretty serious about it, but I don't ride for time.
Are you getting competitive about riding a bike? No, I'm just teasing you. Putting you on the spot a little bit.
I mean, I like to get on my bike and just ride and keep riding. I like to go on like camping tours on bikes.
Nice.
Spend a week or 2 or 3 on my bike.
So that's bike packing. Bike packing?
Packing is if you're more on trails.
Oh.
Touring is more traditionally if you're on roads.
But you're carrying all the gear on the bike?
Yes.
Oh, that's so cool.
Carry all the gear. Yeah.
I wanted to get into that for some time, but I never actually pulled the trigger. Because
you like to go fast on your bike.
Yeah, probably. Well, because I'm intimidated of camping too. There's something about camping that I'm intimidated to camp. I have camped, and I've gone, when my wife and I were dating, we went to a place up in Wisconsin that I'm forgetting the name, and like I was leading that weekend, and I was very much like, we don't have any food. Who's gonna start the fire? We don't have anything to eat. What are we gonna eat? We gotta cook something.
Are we close enough to order pizza?
So I'm, and that was, I had a car and we were on a campsite that like had a little grocery store there. So we were like buying stuff from there. I can't imagine if I was riding my bike. No? How often?
Here's how you can get practice too, is one of the closest campsites to here, just in case, like you need to call your wife to come drive up and pick you up, right?
Zion.
Is in
Zion.
Yeah, it's Illinois Beach State Park. It's about
Yes.
35 miles from Evanston.
I've been there one time.
And so you can ride your bike up. It's only
That's a
35
fun
miles.
idea.
Plenty of time in the
Is
rest
it
of the
that
day.
close?
Yeah, 35 miles.
Huh.
Yeah.
That's really close, actually.
Yeah.
It's closer than I thought.
Yeah.
I've been there once.
I have been there a lot on bike.
Yeah.
Only, I don't know if I've ever been there in a car.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
That's it. Yeah.
You have to reserve a spot there, right?
You do if you're going during the busy part of the season, but if you're going before it gets really busy, there's usually spots available. Some states, if you show up on a bicycle, even if they're completely full at a campsite, they have to find you a spot.
Of course.
But this is not one of those states.
I almost feel like, though, how could anyone turn away a cyclist if I was just like ragged?
They do.
I need a spot.
They do.
Just let me put up my tent over there. I just want to sleep on the floor.
Yeah, but then you get to learn about stealth camping. But that's
yes.
Anyway, if you wanted to practice
going
cycling and camping, it's only a 35-mile ride. So it's nice and close. Like I said, should you realize you loaded your gear kind of funny, or you get up there, it starts pouring rain, and you're not prepared, and you need to call your wife to come save you.
No,
but maybe she'd be with you on that.
Yeah.
On the ride. But it's a pretty easy way to
practice with
dip your feet into it. And there's a grocery store within a mile, I think it is, of the campground. So you don't travel with your food all day. I mean, you can travel, go to the grocery store, bring it back to the campsite.
That's a good idea. That'd be fun. That's definitely like a big task item of okay, I got to have all my ducks in a row.
You're not a wing it.
I am not a wing it kind of guy. No, dude. Oh my God, absolutely not. No. And it's funny to learn about yourself as you get older. And I learn a lot about myself living with my wife, because we've been together now. It'll be a year in April. And this whole past year has just been like a discovery of her and a discovery of myself and us.
That's
you know
awesome.
What I mean?
Yeah.
And what you just said is you're not a wing it kind of guy. No, absolutely not. But she totally is. So it's interesting to play with that dynamic in the same household.
Oh, I bet.
Sometimes I'm we need to be way more structured, and she's it doesn't matter. I'm try to make stuff,
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm definitely not a wing it kind of guy. I feel like I have to have everything in order, because that's the triathlete in me.
Right.
Because if I don't
everything matters.
Everything matters,
Yeah.
And it's I have to have my transition zone set up, and I got to make sure when I'm packing my bag, I have my goggles, my wetsuit, my tri-suit, the chamois butter for when I go onto the bike, the food that I'm going to eat on the bike, the bottles, the tires are pumped, the repair kit's there, everything's there. So got my running shoes, got to replace a pair of socks. Okay, my hat or sunglasses if it's sunny. What am I gonna do for sunscreen? That's kind of how.
So do you use a bag that has little compartments so you know exactly where things are, or do you use a bucket bag?
I just use a gym bag, just because I didn't want to buy a tri bag.
Okay.
They have tri bags specifically for that.
Of course.
But no, I never really worried too much about it.
So there's a little just wing it right there. Just reach in that bag thinking that you're getting your goggles, and then you're oh, there's
something else.
My shoe.
Yeah. So given that you are running, and then you have this touring, I'll say, this touring biking thing, do you have any big kind of events in your mind this year of things you want to do, goals that you have athletically?
So oddly, no. Usually I do. Last year was a big chaotic year, and so things I had planned kind of got thrown out the window, and I had some respiratory stuff that kept me off of riding and running until very, very recently. So now I'm like, oh, let me just make sure I'm nice and solid and grounded again, and then maybe I'll figure out. I would like to take a week bike. I didn't do a bike tour last year. I'd like to do one this year, but I haven't planned anything. Last year, I was toying with the idea of doing a marathon in the fall. I've only done one marathon.
Really? That's a fun fact.
It's a surprising one for somebody who's been running for, over 40 years.
Marathons in some ways are a little overrated. I don't know if I can say that out loud.
Well, I had never really had the desire, and then I ran one, and I did really, really well. But it was like you're running up Sugarloaf Mountain, and then you're running down Sugarloaf Mountain. And somewhere along the way, I was like, well, I wonder how fast I would run if
it was
I
reversed
on a flat.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Instead of only going up or downhill. Yeah. So I was going to do that this past fall. Obviously, that fell apart. So maybe.
Which course would you do?
I was going to do the Des Plaines River.
Yes, the Des Plaines River Trail Marathon.
Yeah.
That's a little bit of like that's a trail run, though.
I know.
That's a trail run.
I know. That would be very, very exciting. And I know it would be slower than a road run, but,
that'd be kind of fun.
It would still have been pretty cool. So maybe this year.
One of my patients last year did it, and she told me that there was a part of the trail where it like rained the week of the race. So there was a whole part of the trail that was just like a giant puddle. And because it's in the fall, it's a little bit on the colder side. So she like had to like drudge through, I believe it was like knee deep of water. At some point along the race, and then obviously just continue to run. So that sounds awful. But
I think that sounds fun.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, that sounds fun.
It's some spice.
That's like, Did you run cross country when you
didn't.
Oh, see, like, not that in races for cross country, not back when I was in high school, you certainly weren't going to be running through that kind of thing in a race, but you might on a training run.
Yeah, sure.
So I kind of miss this.
Sure. Yeah. Little adventurous runs, adventurous things.
Yeah. So that's on my potential for this year.
A flat marathon, you're saying? Or a trail run?
Flat marathon, or in my head someday I'm gonna do ultras, but I don't really live in an area that makes it easy to train regularly on trails. I live car-free by choice, which means to really do trail running, I need to rent a car and then go out.
Yeah. Because the only trail is
an awful lot of work.
The only trail around here is really the Des Plaines River Trail.
Yeah.
And you can just take that up and down.
Right.
But how many miles of biking does it take to get over there from here? Probably 15 one way.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So then it's a long bike ride.
Yeah.
Or a run.
A long run.
And then a long bike ride home.
Back. Yeah. So
that seems like an awful lot of work.
Yeah. Just Uber or something.
Yeah.
Make it work that way.
So, perhaps marathon this year.
I won't hold you to anything. Whatever.
Yeah. When I stop saying perhaps, then I've decided.
Yes.
Right.
My newsletter on Tuesday this past week was just talking about the whole mental framing piece.
Yes. And I read that, right.
Thank you.
And about not the if, but the when.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's huge. That's huge for people. Because I feel like a lot of times people will categorize things in their mind, and I'm obviously guilty of this, right? We'll categorize things in our minds as something we do or don't do, or something that would be hard, or maybe we'll do that, something like that. And if you actually really have a goal of doing something, it's important to just start changing the way you talk about it. Yeah. Because then it kind of just creates the belief and the actions that you're going to do it, because you're telling yourself over and over again that you will.
There's this thing called the stages of change, and it's used often in the recovery world. Previous employment of mine, not fitness related. And I worked with substance abusers when I was a probation officer. and we went over stages of change, and like there's contemplation. Well, there's pre-contemplation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no. There is no way I could ever run a marathon. There's pre-contemplation. Yeah, I don't know. Seems like it would be really, really hard. And I don't think I can. But, you know, the language is already shifting from like, there's no way to, I think I can. Then it just progresses from there. You make your decision and then you're going to do it.
Can you go? Do you have it on the
Do I
top of your head,
remember?
all the stages?
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm trying to remember.
I totally
right,
see the
so-
graph in my head because I learned that in undergrad.
Pre-contemplation, contemplation.
I don't know if I'm gonna be able to help you with this.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It's kind of like you then make your decision for action.
Yeah.
No, preparation.
Preparation. That's
Preparation.
right. Yeah, preparation.
Oh, that's 3.
Yeah. There's 5, right?
Yeah.
5.
Yeah.
We're missing 2. Is the 5th one action?
I think.
No, maintenance.
No,
Maintenance is the last one.
So 4 is action, 5 is maintenance.
Yeah. Okay.
And at any point in
There we
time,
go.
you can kind of shift
Between them.
where you are in the stages of change.
So I'm
So
wondering,
to get from pre-contemplation to contemplation is a pretty huge thing. And then I think from the contemplation to determination, is that what we said? Something like that. I don't know.
Preparation.
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 Thank you. And speaking out loud, one's intention, whether you're speaking out loud to yourself or to others, tends to enhance the likelihood that you will do it.
Yeah.
So when I'm ready to decide, oh yeah, this is the year that I do another marathon, I will be telling everybody.
I'm doing a marathon this year.
Accountability.
Yeah.
So now everybody is going to be expecting me to do it.
For sure.
Right.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mostly they don't really care, but
but in your head, they're thinking about it, and you've told them,
That's
so
right.
you're already getting the
that's right.
programming there. I almost want to circle back to what I was saying earlier in regards to that, like helping people find running or helping people live healthier lives through running.
Yeah.
I feel like I need to understand that stages of contemplation and action better, because if I can better identify where people are at, then I can kind of nudge them. But I almost feel like it's, even as I just said that out loud, I almost feel like it's all kind of nudging in the same general direction, right? Or are there different ways that you would approach people in different stages?
I would approach people differently.
Yeah.
I think. Like even in my work as a strength and conditioning coach now, I approach people differently depending on where they are in their fitness and health journey. Sometimes people don't need a nudge, because it's okay sometimes to stay in a certain uncertainty or indefinite place, or so yeah, I don't know. I think it's a little bit fluid of when and how strong somebody gets nudged or not, and when you're just being that cheerleader saying, but it's really great because you ran for 1 minute, you ran for 5 minutes. That's really great. Even if it's the same things that they've been doing for the past 3 weeks, and you're like, okay, it doesn't seem like they're moving forward. It doesn't mean that they're not.
Yeah.
Right.
Because they're doing something that they weren't even doing 3 weeks ago.
That's right.
Now they're doing it.
Now they're doing it.
Now they're doing it.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter that it's not necessarily bigger and better. They're doing it.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So tell me more about the strength and conditioning practice that you have here and kind of what you do here at Cornerstone, which I never formally introduced. That we are in the beautiful Cornerstone gym, arguably the cleanest and nicest gym in Evanston. You know.
I think it is pretty clean and nice.
It
here.
is very nice. The equipment is very nice.
Yeah.
The
So
space is nice. Everything. Yeah.
yeah, this is my office.
Yeah.
I have been working as a coach here for probably close to 3 years now. It was always part-time because I was doing other things in the fitness world and outside of the fitness world. So strength and conditioning coach, we have a program that maxes our class size out at either 6 or 8, so it's very personalized. It is functional fitness. We do a lot of kettlebell work, body weight work. Obviously, we have barbells and rings, and we do some stuff with that. And a lot of our folks historically were folks who came from physical rehab side, the clinic side over there. And then we're at a point where they were willing to hear their doctor or willing to make their own decision about, oh, right, I need to include more fitness, or I've lost it, I want to get back to it. And this is a really safe space for that because you get monitored by the coach, usually me, I coach most of the classes, a lot about things like form and movement. We try to be very conscious of that, but still have tons of fun. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. I coach, I guess, 10 classes a week, maybe.
Do you do any privates, or is it all classes?
So we do. I've done personal training here as well. Mostly it's classes, though. My experience when I've worked with people privately versus group is that people tend to enjoy group classes more.
More camaraderie.
I think because the camaraderie, because of seeing other people like, oh, we're in this misery together. Fun kind of misery. Yeah. But yeah, so we definitely do some personal training here, but most people end up doing a group. Also, group classes are more economical than personal training.
Sure. Yeah.
So there's always that financial piece.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be one-on-one.
Yeah.
So, then this is a space that, if I remember correctly, is 10 years in the making, because Dr. Ben has been.
So Dr. Fergus opened Cornerstone, I believe it was 10 years ago. He was at a different location down at like 500 Davis Street.
Right.
But we've been here, I think, for 5 years.
5 years. Okay.
Right.
And
with
this place still looks this new?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Why did I think that it was even newer? Because it's super clean. Yeah, but I knew that Cornerstone was in a different location and moved here.
Right.
And I really love how this whole space is set up, because obviously you have the clinic side on that side, and then I'm assuming everybody who's on the clinic side, whether or not they're actually coming in here to work out, they know in their mind that this is a significant component of the practice as a whole.
They do. It gets talked about during their rehab and their work with either Dr. Fergus or Dr. J. It also, the structure here involves physical exercises as part of rehabilitation. So somebody comes in and they have their treatment, and then they usually do the physical part over here, which when I came on here full time, was the piece that I took on. So I lead the rehab exercises in our grip approach, which is an approach used here. So yeah, they get to see it
up close.
Yeah.
And use it, of course.
Yeah.
So then I'm sure it's pretty easy to then talk to these patients about, like, hey man, like, this is an important component of your overall health.
It's easy to talk. That not all patients want to hear that, but I find it very easy to talk about it. But again, that's when you're a little obsessed or passionate about the things that you do. We actually have a program here for some folks that are a little hesitant. They can go through this on-ramp where they get a number of one-on-one sessions with me, kind of introducing foundational movements, body form positioning for things, and then that progresses into trying out our group classes so that they're not overwhelmed. Like if you haven't been doing fitness and you just join a group class, it can be hugely overwhelming. But this is kind of, I think, smoothed the way. And I don't know, I like to think I'm a little persuasive when I want to be.
For sure.
Like,
in
a good way. But
I
like to think that I'm a little persuasive. And then you try a couple classes and you're like, oh, okay, this was really, really hard. Oh my God, I think I'm a little sore. oh, I feel really good.
Mm.
And then, that's the first little hook.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So what you were just talking about, this on-ramp, seems like it could be the solution to a problem that I was having when I was trying to host strength workouts for runners.
Uh-huh.
So I started that program, and for the classes that I was running, I found myself working with some guy who was around my age in his 20s, and then there was also some lady who was Medicare age. And I was like, how the hell am I going to like give both of these people a good workout and that actually makes sense for them? And I found myself struggling isn't really the right word, but I just kind of found myself in a really weird spot where I was like, I'm not really sure what to do with this, because obviously this dude can like do the box jumps, but the lady's like just going to do taps.
Yeah.
And that's fine for her, but does it actually make sense to have
a group class that does
class that does this? So I like the idea of some degree of an on-ramp, to use your words, to be like, hey, like let's just teach you some basic movements, and then we can kind of go from there.
Yeah. It's been, I think it's been a big factor in growing our group classes here.
The on-ramp?
Successful for it. That said, in our group classes, we have people that are in their 20s up to people that are in their 80s.
Yeah.
And they might be in the same class and at very different places in their physical health and in their fitness. And it's not always the youngster who's in the more fit place.
Sure.
But it's worked really, really well here. I don't know if it's because most of our folks have come from having had some sort of a chronic pain or physical issue. I feel like that's part of it versus just going to a random class at a gym, for example. But yeah, in any keeping classes to 6 or 8 people means I have time to work with the person who can only do toe taps or walk up and down a box versus a person who's jumping up and down a box. So in a class, both of those things might be happening. I might say, hey, we're doing double leg box jumps today. And Michael, I think for you, it would be better if we just use the box at the 8-inch height. Or, for you, Michael, let's do some step ups with a high knee drive. And you'd be like, okay, great.
You kind of have the freedom to kind of like progress or regress things.
It's been, and everybody's very accepting and open of it. And then all of a sudden one day, you're doing jumping up on a 16-inch box, and people will know and remember that you started just stepping up. And then it's a very like affirming, positive
environment
for that.
Everyone's kind of cheering everyone on. That's awesome.
It's kind of fun.
Well, it sounds like you have a really nice like gig here, I'll put it that way.
Fitness, which is always fun. There are a lot of runners who come through here. There are a lot of people that also enjoy riding their bikes to whatever degree. So, it's a great space to indulge in the things that interest me. All the work that I ever done in my life, in my mind, I've had some part is like, oh, I'm about facilitating change in some form or another, whether it was emotional, mental change, whether it's physical change. Living life a different way.
That's
so
awesome.
I get to do it all here.
That's awesome. Well, it sounds like you're happy here. Obviously, Cornerstone's super lucky to have you. I'm lucky to know you as a fellow runner in the area. And Liz, it was great talking with you today.
Thank you so much for talking with me.
Absolutely.